Hello! I wanted to do one last final quick update about my knee surgery recovery. So if you don't know, I had a major reconstructive knee surgery on my right knee on New Year's Eve, and I have a couple videos like about the surgery and about the recovery process. I did a couple of updates, so this is going to be my last one. We went to Disney 10 weeks after I had that knee surgery, and those videos just finished posting. We vlogged the whole trip, and the last one just went up, and I thought it was kind of funny editing that last video because I said in it multiple times that we definitely would not be going to Disney again for a while because I'm gonna have another knee surgery, same thing on my other knee, and I just didn't want to put myself through a Disney trip again until after my knees were done and healed and I was totally back to normal. But we are going to be going back to Disney again very soon, once before my next surgery and then again after my next surgery. So I just wanted to do one final update on the surgery that I've already had. If you haven't watched those Disney videos, I will link a playlist for that somewhere. And I just wanted to say that Disney was awesome. Even though I was in pain for a lot of it, it was so much better than I could have ever expected, and I'm glad that we didn't cancel the trip because that was something that I had considered before we were going. It was about 6 weeks after I had my knee surgery when I had to make that final decision if we were going to be going or not, and I just wasn't in the physical shape to really make that decision yet because I wasn't doing well at 6 weeks after the surgery. I didn't expect that I would be doing much better 4 weeks later, but I was doing well enough. Disney was really good. I didn't end up having to use any mobility assisting things. I didn't need to use a wheelchair or a scooter, but I had prepared myself to potentially need that, so I had done my research and figured out where the best place to get stuff like that would be, since Disney offers it in their parks, but it's kind of at like a first come first serve basis, and I didn't want to like be in that situation where I really needed it and then there weren't any available. So I knew what company I would be getting it from if I needed it, but I didn't end up needing it. I was able to walk. We walked a lot. We walked about 10 miles each day. It was a lot of walking. So I ended up having to ice a lot and just take a lot of Advil. I iced every morning. I iced on the buses in the afternoons. I iced during our meals. I had ice on my knees so much. That was really the most helpful thing. Like, the Advil worked a little bit, but really the most helpful thing was just to get that knee as numb as possible from the ice and then not really feel it for a little while. So that was the best thing for me. Because I hadn't really been walking that much for quite a few months, I kind of went out of commission this past November. I didn't have the surgery until December 31st, and then that trip was in March. So really for that whole time from November until March, I really was hardly walking at all. I wasn't doing much. I was on crutches for the most of that time, and my body just wasn't in good shape. Like the rest of my body, not just my knee, my legs, my stamina was low. So it was a physically exhausting trip compared to all of my other trips. I don't think that we did Disney any differently than we would have normally. We walk fast, we see a lot, we do a lot. We spend all day in the parks with just a little tiny break in the afternoon, like back at the resort where I would be icing. But for the most part, our trip was normal for us. So my body got really tired, and when we got home from the trip, I was saying to people that honestly my feet and my legs were hurting more than my knee at that point. So I considered it a win. Honestly, my knee wasn't really killing me as much as other parts of my body. So that was something that I wasn't necessarily planning for. I wasn't really thinking about how much the rest of my body would be affected by walking 10 miles a day after not really walking for months before that trip. So then also because of that, I got blisters a lot easier than I normally do when I'm in Disney. The backs of my heels were like the sneakers rub. They kind of lost the callus that's normally there, so I got some pretty intense blisters on the backs of my heels a lot faster than normal. But I just wore band-aids on my heels every day and it was totally fine. I did have the opportunity to visit the first aid locations in Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. To my knowledge, there's only one first aid spot in each of the parks. And because of that reason, I would still recommend bringing plenty of plastic bags into the park with you if you're going to Disney after any sort of surgery and you're gonna need ice handy. I only stopped in those first aid locations when I was just passing by them just by chance because I wanted to see what they were like, and they were great. They were really quiet and kind of pushed away from the crowds, and it was a nice spot to just go in and kind of get like a breath of fresh air, if that even makes any sense. Just kind of like decompress a little bit. And I just went in there and I needed to like sign in and say that I just needed an ice pack, and they asked me for what reason, I guess for their records, and I just said, well, I had knee surgery 10 weeks ago, so I just need to ice my knee a little bit. And they never gave me any trouble. They gave me an ice pack wrapped in paper towels, and they, both times that I went, they gave me this little like stretchy sock thing that I guess could assist you in holding an ice pack onto a specific spot of your body if you're going to be like sitting. So they were wonderful, but the cast members were always so shocked when I would say, yeah, I just had surgery 10 weeks ago, and they'd be like, oh, why are you here? So that was always funny. But both of the first aid locations that I went into were really nice. I just don't think that it's the most convenient thing to use as your only option for ice when you're in the parks. You can definitely get ice at any of the quick service locations in the parks, and I would recommend just keeping some plastic bags with you so you can get ice if you're in other parts of the park. Right after we got back from our trip, Disney released some new rules about what you can bring into the park with you. And one of those is that you can't bring loose ice in a cooler into the park, and that made me nervous. So I had to search around a little bit, and they really just mean you can't bring like a cooler or lunchbox sort of thing with loose ice in it and like other items in there, because for the security check, they need to check to see what's in your cooler, and if it's like loose ice, they can't see what's in there. So I was walking into the park a lot a week before that with a plastic bag full of ice, sometimes wrapped in a paper towel. When I would go through security, I would bring it through baggage check with me, and all of the cast members would look at me like I was crazy, like, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, why do you have a big bag of ice? And I would just say, oh, I just had knee surgery, I'm just icing my leg. And they gave me no problem. I don't even think that they looked really at the bag. It was a clear bag with ice and like water in it, so they could see that there was nothing else in there. And you can still do that. You just can't bring loose ice in a cooler into the park. At that 10-week mark of my recovery, I still was not walking upstairs yet. I was doing that thing where you like do one at a time, always putting like all of the weight on my other leg, but I wasn't like walking up them like a normal person. And really that wasn't that big of an issue at all in the park. I just kind of took it slow. If I really needed to do stairs, it was just slow, so I would keep to the side. For the most part, Disney is a very accessible park. There are a lot of ramps, but there are a couple rides that either have like a couple of steps in the queue, or like Midway Mania, there's like a huge staircase of steps that you have to walk up, cross over the like actual ride track, and then walk right back down the stairs. And we did Toy Story Mania during a special event in the morning where there were not very many people in the park, so I had to walk all the way up those stairs and then all the way right back down on the other side in a very short period of time, just because there wasn't like a big long line of people in front of me. I'm pretty sure there's an elevator, so if I had said something to someone, I think I could have just used the elevator, but I was definitely trying to be a little bit independent. So that was my only main struggle as far as stairs go in the Disney parks, so not that big of an issue, honestly. So then ramps were my usual option, and ramps were not fun. Ramps were not easy for me just because of the way that my knee felt. I didn't feel very comfortable on ramps, so I would stay as far to the right as I could and just hold on to the railing and take it slow. Chris would normally end up walking right behind me, because the problem that I was having for the most part in Disney was just people riding up on my heels. If I was driving a car and I was driving really slow and people were like driving up on my butt, I would understand that. But I was just walking and people were just right on my butt, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. I was nervous with people being so close to me from behind when I was just trying my hardest to not fall down the ramps. So Chris would usually stay right behind me and kind of like put a barrier between me and strangers that were not very friendly. I just don't understand, if you're in this situation, if you're walking behind someone that's walking slow, just pass them. I was staying off to the side just like you're supposed to do. It doesn't make any sense. There'd be huge walkways where I'm walking so slow off to the right and people were just walking right on my heels. That part I think was the hardest part, just dealing with the other people. It was a crowded week, just like every week in Disney is, and it was hard to maneuver in the crowds as quickly as I'm used to, trying to avoid people, trying to stay out of the way of other people who are not looking where they're going, or kids who are pushing strollers that they can't even see over. There's a multitude of dangerous things happening in the crowded areas of Disney that I wouldn't normally notice until I'm trying to walk safely and carefully and not get hurt and protect my knee as much as I can. So that was the biggest problem that I had, was just the other people that I can't control. I can control how fast I walk up the stairs and where I'm walking, but I can't control the other people in my surroundings. And that was just what made me the most nervous. But honestly, I didn't have really any issues and we made it. After we got back from Disney, I did have 3 physical therapy appointments scheduled for the next week after our return. And on my first appointment, my physical therapist was like, oh, I don't think you really need to be here anymore. So it turned out that being in Disney and walking so much made me so much stronger than I would have gotten just being at home. And I guess that makes sense to me because really there's nothing else that I would have walked 10 miles a day for 10 weeks after having knee surgery other than Disney. So it really was strengthening to my entire body and to my knee, and it was super beneficial. And after I completed those 3 physical therapy appointments, I was released at week 11 from my surgery. So that was very exciting. I don't know if that's like the normal time frame, but I really think that Disney helped me push through the last part of my therapy. I still wasn't really doing stairs very well, so I was doing them on my own at home and at work, really holding on to the railing and just like getting my body used to that motion of walking up the stairs and trusting my new knee and getting all those muscles working again. And that was tough, but by week 18, I was doing stairs like nothing had even happened to me, running up and down the stairs. Everything was perfectly fine. It just took some time for my body to get used to that and for my muscles to get strong enough to do that again. Once we returned from Disney, I also started seeing a drastic difference in the way that my knee looked. It wasn't as swollen anymore. It was definitely swollen the entire time that we were in Disney. Once we got home and I rested, I could start to see a lot more definition in my knee than I could see before we went to Disney. So the swelling was really starting to go down. When people would ask me at that point what my knee felt like, if I was feeling okay, I would say that I'm not really in any pain, but my knee just feels like there's 1,000 rubber bands wrapped around it. It was just tight. It wasn't totally back to normal yet, but I was bending to 140 degrees by the time I got home from Disney with no problem. I mean, it was tight, but I feel like how much I could bend it increased so much when I was in Disney, and I wasn't even like purposefully trying to get it to bend any more than I could before I went to Disney, but I guess that's just what all the strengthening was doing. I don't know. So that was really exciting to be able to get that far. I had mentioned in my last update video, the week 10 update, that I was hearing a lot of cracking noises coming from my knee. If I would go from sitting to standing, or if I was just moving or walking, and sometimes if I wasn't even doing anything, all of a sudden I would hear these really loud cracks coming from my knee. And that was a little bit frightening, but my PT and my surgeon both didn't seem concerned about it at all. And I guess because they know that by this point, by like week 18, there was no cracking sounds at all, like hardly ever, which was a really relieving feeling to realize that I wasn't hearing that anymore, because it's frightening when your brand new knee is making these crazy loud noises, but it's not doing that at all anymore. After we returned from Disney, and then for quite a few weeks after that, I wasn't really experiencing any pain anymore in my knee. I was mostly just experiencing stiffness. So if I went from sitting down, like I have an office job where I sit at a desk, if I was sitting and then I would get up really quick to go somewhere else, I would be like slowed down. Like all of a sudden, as soon as I stood up, I'd be like, oh wait, you gotta stretch this knee out before you can actually go anywhere. I was trying to not stay in the same position or stay seated for too long just to keep that knee moving so it wouldn't get too stiff. But I'm not having that issue at all anymore. I can go from sitting to standing to running in like 3 seconds if I really wanted to. I have been meaning to film this video for a while now, so it has actually been 8.5 months since I've had the surgery. So it's now been 37 weeks and it's just crazy, but it's also not. My knee feels like nothing has even happened at this point. And I've noticed in the comments some people asking like, well, at what point did you feel fine? And I guess I would say that it was around week 18 or 19 that I really felt like everything was perfectly fine. I was taking some notes during this whole experience just so I would remember what to say in these updates. So that's how I'm remembering what to say for this video, because it really has been so long. It feels like the surgery was so long ago, but then also kind of like yesterday at the same time, which is so weird. But everything really has been going so well. I've really been so happy with the whole situation. My knee feels so great. I do have quite a bit of nerve damage around the scar. I mentioned in one of my update videos that if I like run my hand down one side of the scar, I cannot feel it at all. And if I run the hand down the other side of the scar, I can feel it. And depending on where that hand is, on that side of the scar that I can actually feel it. I get like a weird sensation on the other side, like there is some weird nerve stuff happening. And then because of that, my main limitation that I'm setting on myself is that I don't like to be on my knees if I'm like bending down trying to do something on the floor, like on a hard surface. I can't really feel how much pressure I'm putting on my new knee because it's still quite numb in what I would consider to be a large area. I felt like it was small at first when I first got the surgery. Because it was still so swollen, I don't think I realized how much I couldn't feel on half of the scar. So because of that numbness, I feel like I put some limitation on myself when I'm kneeling on the ground. But other than that, there is no pain, nothing. I would say maybe around week 18, I was still feeling some like extra stiffness if there was a change in the weather. If it was raining, I was feeling extra stiff, but I don't even have that anymore. At week 37, it's like nothing even happened, and this is so great and I just love it. But I am having another surgery. Like I've said, I'm going to be having the same exact surgery on my left knee on the same day, like December 30th of this year, and I can't wait. I am so excited to have both of my knees working and doing what they're supposed to do for the first time ever in my life. And I have another trip to Disney planned around the same time that we went this last time after my knee surgery. The first time that I saw my surgeon right after I went to Disney, he kind of joked and said, oh, well, I guess you should be going to Disney again in March after your next surgery. And honestly, that felt like him like prescribing a Disney trip. I really felt like Disney helped my knees. I would not recommend it. It was tough and it was painful, but it was something to keep me a little distracted during my recovery, kind of thinking about the planning and the packing, and something fun to look forward to after having such an intense surgery with such a long, painful recovery. So I'm kind of glad that I'll have that again. I think I will take it a little bit slower after I go to Disney again after another knee surgery, but really it was so great. I'm not going to recommend it. I'm not going to tell you to go to Disney after you have knee surgery. I know there are a few people that have watched these videos because they've had the same surgery or because they're going to have the same surgery, and I'm not going to tell you to do that. But for me, there was no way I was going to be putting myself through that amount of exercise each day right after having knee surgery, except for Disney. So it really worked out for me. It worked out better than I could have ever expected, and so I'm going to do it again. But I'm really glad to have shared all of this information with you guys over the past couple months, because I have met so many people who have been through the same experience, have had the same or similar surgery, even have had the same surgery in the same hospital by the same doctor, which is crazy. But it's kind of nice to know that I'm not going through this alone, because my knees have been an issue my entire life, but I never knew anyone else that had the same issues. So now I kind of know a lot of people who've had the same problems and shared their stories with me, and that's been so awesome sharing this. So I will share again when I have my next knee surgery. That won't be for another couple months, but I'll share that when that happens. Thank you so much for watching all of these knee related videos and the Disney videos if you've watched those. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any updates, any knee related videos. We also have some ice cream videos and food videos, and then the Disney videos obviously. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are down below.